Got my homeboy. He out of the Bay Area, just like me. Got my boy Big Rich. Rich, introduce yourself. Tell them who you are. Tell them Tell them the name of your channel and how they can tap in with you.
Yeah, man, it's Big Rich, man, for Real Boxing Facts. And that's on Instagram, that's Real Boxing underscore facts. On YouTube, it's Real Boxing Facts with host Big Rich. And I'm from the Bay, I'm from Oakland. And, we do this. We do this boxing stuff. What's up, town?
The Buzz Bay Area. Yeah. So yeah. So first of all, let me ask you, how was covering this fight this whole week? How was this fight different from covering some of the other fights we didn't cover? What was different about this one? So what was it like?
What was different? I think the people that was in charge of the fight. It was a lot of assumptions. It was a lot of things that went on that I don't agree with. And to be honest with you, I think PBC need to check all those people that's in power, who got power, who shouldn't be in power, because they're basically shutting out new media. And they're catering too much to old media, and old media do things the old way, but it's a completely different landscape now. And a lot of people that got huge channels that do numbers wasn't even allowed, in the media workout. You know what I mean? Media week. They weren't even allowed in the media week. Like normally they always let, you know, if they not gonna give you credentials, they let you at least go to the media stuff during the week. You know what I'm saying? But that's the only thing that messed up, in my opinion, messed up the whole experience. Out here boxing. I'm not hating. It's just it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of times, you know what I'm saying. Um, we don't understand that these people that come and we do this new media, we spend our own money. You know what I mean? Plane tickets. You know what I mean? Hotel fees, food. You know what I mean? We spend our own money to do this. You know what I'm saying? And most of us wasn't even asking for a ticket. We were just saying, well, we'll buy our own ticket. Just give us media credentials during the week. But other than that, you know what I'm saying? Great fight. It was a good fight for people who is really into boxing. I think a lot of people learned a lot who Terrence Crawford was. You know what I mean? I kind of knew because I've been in the corner with Terrence Crawford. I knew his genius, and I understood his timing. You know what I mean? And I always tell people that Terrence Crawford is like a heavier Shakur Stevenson, but better. And you can't get no better than Shakur Stevenson in terms of like defense, a well balanced fighter. You know what I mean? And even Shakur Stevenson had problems with Bud, so I knew Earl was gonna have problems. Even though Earl, my boy, you know what I mean? But I just knew he didn't have the skill set to fuck with Bud. That's why I said I've been saying for 2 months now, Bud in seven, and he damn near stopped him in the seventh round. Maybe 10 more seconds, he would have been out of there.
Yeah, so let me ask you about that because I was talking to Justin McRae about this, and I wanted to get your assessment. Do you think Derek James should have tried to stop the fight or told the referee to stop the fight because Errol was just taking a lot of punishment, and by that third time he got knocked down, you kind of knew, okay, he's done. It doesn't matter what happens, he's done. This fight is about to end. You know, Terrence Crawford is one of the best finishers in the boxing game, if not the best finisher. So, do you think that Derek James' ego got in the way of him stopping the fight to the point, even going into that ninth round? I think if it wasn't for Harvey Dock, I think Errol Spence was about to get carried out on a stretcher. So, do
Yeah,
you think that Derek James should have just stopped the fight, just said, you had enough. I'm stopping the fight, or I'm gonna ask the ref to stop the fight because you taking too much punishment. What's your assessment of that?
technically, I think after your fighter to get knocked down 3 times, I mean, if you do the math on that, you can't win the fight anyway. You know what I mean? But after the seventh round, I think the fight should have got stopped on the seventh round because Earl was taking too much punishment in the seventh round. Now, we don't know what type of agreement that Bud had with with I mean not with Bud, but with Errol Spence had with his trainer. Because a lot of fighters say that hey, they want to go out on their shield and they want to go out. But sometimes in life you do gotta step in and protect your fighter from themselves because we know that Earl wasn't gonna stop fighting no matter what. You know what I mean? And then to see him get knocked out 4 times, I mean, it was almost embarrassing after the third time. You know what I mean? So it's not just embarrassing, but like in terms of what you're talking about, his health should have been more important than trying to go another round or two because you wasn't gonna be at this point. He was damn near impossible to beat.
Yeah, I agree with that because before I talked to you, I just was thinking to myself, if Terrence Crawford like hurts Errol Spence early in the fight and he drops him, I think that's like the beginning of the end. And I just thought that Derek James, thought that his ego got the best of him because I know Errol Spence probably would have continued to fight, but I just thought that Derek James was being irresponsible. And I think that he put Errol Spence at risk to get seriously hurt because Harvey Dock saw how Errol Spence was wobbling really bad. And you could tell he was like 2 or 3 more punches away from like being like flatlined. And he would have been like a morning meme. So I just was thinking to myself, like, damn, sometimes the trainer's got to say, you know what, dude, I got to do what's best for you because I know a lot of times people still thinking about the aftermath of what happened with Deontay Wilder and Mark Breland in the second fight when he said that, he told him under no circumstances to throw in the towel. But at the same time, this doesn't matter what you suspect Tyson Fury did or whatnot, but Deontay Wilder was seriously hurt in that fight. And that's what led to a lot of this. So that's why I wanted to get your opinion on that. But let me ask you this. Were you surprised how one-sided that fight was and how uncompetitive it was pretty much the moment Bud like floored Errol Spence?
Um, Only because I've been in the ring with Bud, and I saw how intelligent he was in the ring. He helped Devin Haney huge in the ring in training for that second fight against Kambosos. People don't know that it was Bud that was right there with Devin, giving him all kind of game. You know what I mean? So once I saw how this man thought, I was like, man, this guy's a fucking genius. People don't even know. Like they looking at his size, but they don't know this guy is strong. You know what I mean? He picked up a 300-pound guy and slammed him.
And
You
you
know what
was
I mean?
right there, right?
And I was right there. I
Rich,
seen it with my
Rich,
own.
Rich, not tell them that story. This is why me and you behind the scenes when we was discussing that people gonna be surprised thinking that Errol Spence gonna be able to go in there and think he could use brute force against Terrence Crawford. So just tell them what you saw when they came to the Bay Area.
When they came to the Bay Area, me and Boxing Ego, we had went to San Mateo because Bill called us and told us, to come. So we came. And just from just the way Bud, he likes to wrestle. So he was picking up. Matter of fact, let me tell you what he did. He picked a fighter up. I don't know his name, but he picked Devin Haney and another fighter up and had them both like this. And Danner was getting ready to slam both of them. You know what I mean? He picked them both up. Then he went to Devin Haney's bodyguard, picked him, and he's big. Picked him up and slammed him. So I was like, where's this little guy getting all this strength from? This motherfucker is strong. When I tell you that Terrence Crawford is strong, he is strong. He don't even look like he's strong. He looks small, skinny. Man, I don't know where he getting his strength from, but I will tell you, after I seen that, I was like, dang, that guy, I don't know. Everybody better watch out. This guy, he's not, he's almost like you know what it's like? It's like watching Floyd fight Canelo. You know what I mean? Floyd's a little guy, but he's strong as hell. You know what I mean? And that's what it's like, man. When you get in the ring with somebody that's strong, I mean, physically strong. You know what I mean? It's
I get.
crazy. I mean, I thought it was just like I didn't even believe it myself. You know what I mean? But I was sitting right there watching the whole thing.
Yeah, that's see, you knew about this, and this is what I was trying to warn people, and then you saw a glimpse of it last night. Because Errol Spence did try to roughhouse Terrence Crawford, and then I don't know what round it was, and Terrence Crawford just easily pushed Errol Spence off of him. And then I
Yeah.
saw this look on Errol Spence's face like, uh-oh.
And you know what it is? He felt Bud's strength. That's what it was. And he felt that was hitting harder than he was. You know what I mean? He was getting caught with that right hand. And you gotta remember, Bud was fighting left-handed, but he was hitting him with that right hand, and he's right-handed. So he was hitting him with that jab with the right, and it was coming so hard that I don't even think Bud even accounted for that punch.
Yeah, I was just surprised because I didn't even think about it that Bud had fought like pretty much had fought like Southpaw pretty much the whole fight. Do you think that was something to throw Errol Spence off? Do you think Errol Spence was game planning for Bud to fight righty more than switching to Southpaw? Because I just think Bud to a certain degree, based off what I saw, he really like studied Errol Spence, and
Yeah.
it looked like once he took Errol Spence's jab away and he couldn't get a consistent attack, because Errol Spence, he did what I said he needed to do to try to win that fight, was to try to get Bud up against the ropes and try to rough him up and try to overwhelm him with punch activity and staying active and staying fluid with his punches. But then when Bud shoved him and when Bud was hitting him off the ropes, and when Bud floored him with that short chopping right, and he went down, and Bud wasn't even landing a lot of those punches full throttle. I was thinking to myself, if Bud had landed the ones he really was trying to land, man.
And you know what's funny about that? The funny thing is that um, Earl, I don't think I don't think he was playing. It looked like he didn't even know how to fight. I mean, to be honest with you, I know Earl's a world class fighter, but it looks like he just forgot how to fight. You know what I mean? He just he didn't have it in him. He didn't have no balance. His punches were wild. He was he was trying to break Bud down, but Bud was just sitting there waiting on him, countering him every time. And I just think that he was in over his head. I mean, and Earl, like I say, Earl's my guy. Bud's my guy, but it just looked like he forgot how to fight. Like after the second round, it was just like he was just trying to rely on instinct. And the thing about it is that you can't rely. I mean, you have to rely on instinct when you're in there, but there's only you two in the ring. It's kind of like what Mike Tyson went through when he was fighting Evander Holyfield, and
Yeah.
he didn't have a way out. Tyson, he wanted to get out of that fight any kind of way he could. So he knew he was losing. He knew he was getting outboxed. So the first thing he did was bit old boy ear off. And I think he did that out of desperation. And it's sad because it's like on this level, you gotta be able to adjust, and you have to be able to um, try something else. And it's like Bud didn't have nothing else. I mean, Spence didn't have nothing else. It was just like he went to a place where he was just like really back to the amateurs. You know what I mean? He was just throwing punches everywhere. You know what I mean? Trying to hit him with anything. And it's like he wasn't the fighter I thought he was. I mean, to be honest with you. I thought the world of Earl before last night. And
Well,
that's just the honest opinion.
and that's very interesting. that you say that because I was just watching the fight and I already knew when Errol got dropped the first time in the second round. I already knew that was the end of it. Once Errol got dropped in the second round, I already knew what was coming because I saw Bud do this so many times. And I think to a certain degree, I think Errol fought with heart and he did try to fight with instinct, but I think Errol Spence kind of knew he was a beat man. And sometimes you get desperate because Errol, he was just like sort of like swinging for the fences. He was throwing punches that he knew was out of range and that he couldn't land on Bud, and then it put him in a position to get countered. I mean, Bud just out did everything. He out jabbed him. He was a better body puncher. And let me ask you something, Rich. These are the so-called stats, and I'm gonna compare this to other opponents. They're saying Terrence Crawford landed 50% of his shots versus Errol Spence. So basically, a guy that was supposed to be Terrence Crawford's toughest test, when you look at the so-called punch stats, punches thrown, punches landed, on paper is saying that Errol Spence was one of Terrence Crawford's easier fights. So I gotta ask you, what do you think of that? Did that fight looked like a mismatch to me? So
Yeah, I
does
think it.
Errol? Let me ask you this: is this a real question now, based off the so-called numbers? Because I'm gonna do a video putting up stats with previous opponents. So let me ask you this: based off what the stats say, do you think it's saying technically that Errol Spence is overrated?
Um, I don't think he's overrated. I just think in boxing, I think it's levels, and I think Terrence Crawford is on the level like of a Floyd Mayweather. You know what I mean? Like Floyd was always above everybody. That's why all his fights were so easy. It may have been harder for us to accept that, but he was above everybody. That's why his percentage was at 50% too. If you look at Floyd's percentages, and it was up at 50% too, just like Bud. They both have high percentages in terms of accuracy, in terms of getting hit. Damn near 50. That means damn near everything he threw was connected. You know what I mean? And most boxers, they probably are maybe at about 30%, 40%. But there ain't nobody at no 50 and 55 and 60%. That's on a whole nother level. That's like on some Shakur Stevenson type shit. You know what I mean? So when you get to them type of levels, it's almost like, it's crazy that we could sit and say that was a mismatch, but we know Earl can fight. He just he don't have the dimensions we thought he did. You know what I mean? And in boxing, sometimes when you're in the ring, if you ever boxed before, you know that if something don't work, you gotta go to plan B, and then maybe C, and maybe D, or maybe even E. You know what I mean? I think Floyd had a plans D. You know what I mean? And same as Bud. Like Bud he probably got those levels too. You know what I mean? And he showed some of it last night. Now I don't know what kind of fight it would be between him and Boots, but I do know that Boots don't have the opponents. You know what I'm saying? But what I mean, you give him some time, it's gonna be some good fights. You know what I mean? But I don't think he's gonna be able to fuck with Bud after this. You know what I mean? I just don't think Boots can do it. I know a lot of things that Boots do in the ring. He play around in the ring a lot, and you can't do that against Bud. Can't do it. You know what I mean? So in terms of what we talking about, yeah, um, it was a mismatch. You know what I mean? In my opinion.
So what do you think? What's your opinion? I'm gonna give my opinion first, and then I'm gonna give you the chance to give your opinion. Everybody is talking about the rematch clause, and Errol Spence said that he wanted a rematch. But after what I saw, even if they fought at a higher weight class, I just think that Terrence Crawford knows how to fight Errol Spence, and I just think there's nothing Errol Spence can do to better his chances to fight and have success against Terrence Crawford. What if they fight another fight and it goes the distance? Errol Spence loses 3 rounds out of the remaining 9. I think the results is going to be the same. I mean, there's
Yeah.
certain outcomes. Is there certain outcomes you see in fights that just say, I don't want to see this again because it's going to be the same thing? Do you think a rematch, even at 154, will be any different? Me myself, I seen enough to know that Errol Spence can't do nothing with Terrence Crawford, and I think if they fight again, I think Terrence Crawford demolish him even quicker. I think he demolished him in like 5 rounds instead of 8. Because I saw periods of the fight where it looked like Terrence Crawford was carrying Errol Spence a little bit.
I
So,
think
I mean,
I
what's
think
your
I think
opinion?
I think Bud, out of respect for Earl, I think that he did try to carry him. You know what I mean? Because I think that if you really think of the scheme of things, the way he beat him up, I don't think he was trying to stop him like that. I think he was trying to like, because there's too much money on the second fight. If it would have been a good fight, but this wasn't a good fight, not for Earl. You know what I mean? So I think there's so many dimensions going on. You know how prize fighting is. Prize fighting, people pay their money to see the fighters, but normally we already know who's gonna win. This fight, it was kind of like 50-50, but like what you said, it was a mismatch. So the thing about it is that the money still is on the back end on the second fight, but the problem with the second fight is that people ain't gonna want to pay to see it. You feel me? Because they already know what the outcome is. Whether they go to 154 or 160, it don't matter because even if Bud added 2 more dimensions to his fighting style, you know what I mean? It's not gonna matter. He's still gonna get beat. You know what I
That's
mean?
very.
Like I'll give
Mhm.
you a good example. Say Earl say fuck it. I'm gonna go get Lomachenko dad to teach me some footwork and add a dimension with his footwork, right? And then he says I'm gonna go to uh, maybe back to Floyd Mayweather Sr. and learn some defense. You know what I mean? Right? So now he just added 2 more dimensions to his style, right? But I don't think that's gonna work because I think Bud still he got Z, he got dimension Z. He can go all the way to Z. And I think Earl can only go to like from the looks of it, he may go to plan A and plan B, maybe C. That's it. That's all he got. That's just my
Yeah,
opinion. And, hey,
yeah.
I
That's
love you, Earl. But I'm just keeping it real.
all right. So my advice, I'm gonna say what I think Errol Spence should do, and then I want to get your take. My advice is, if I'm Errol Spence, based off the beating that I took at the hands of Terrence Crawford. I mean, Terrence Crawford busted Errol Spence up. Nose was busted, lips was busted. Looked like he had a little blood coming out his ears. He's probably pissing out blood. He was badly hurt in that fight. And at the end of the day, I think to say you coming back and maybe possibly December for a rematch, and then keep in
No, no, no,
mind,
not a rematch for a money fight.
yeah, or okay, well, just for a money fight, um, I think Errol Spence shouldn't even fight the rest of this year. Me myself, I think he should take just like Steve Fulton. The way Steve Fulton got folded, I think Steve Fulton shouldn't fight for the rest of the year. But I think Errol
Hey,
Spence, due to the fact that he got battered for 9 rounds, I just think that Errol Spence should just go up to 154 and test his hand at 154. And let me ask you something: what type of 154 guy you think Errol Spence can be? I mean, who's out there for Errol Spence to fight at 154 and possibly have a chance to beat? What
well,
one?
he got at 154. He got some fighters he could fight, but the problem with 154 is we all know Terrence Crawford going up there to 154 to clean all that out. So I just think, honestly, I think Bud needs to go to 160 and finish his career out there and fighting those guys and not the top guys, but just the ones that he could fight. Because if he goes to 154 and then end up fighting somebody like Bud again, that's another L, right? And then he could fight, say he fights Drone Enos, then that's another L. Because you got to remember, Drone Enos can move up to 154 too, because he's a big 147 pounder.
Yeah, that
You know what
dude
I
big
mean?
as fuck.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's
he
big
big.
as fuck. So he could go to 154 and chase your boy. So if I was him, I'll move up 2 weight classes and stay away from all them guys. Because after I've been exposed like that, I would take maybe a year off. You know what I mean? Get my head together and go to the doctor, get them eyes checked out. You know what I mean? And relax. That's what I would do. And then I would scheme it out where I'll let Bud have 154. I'll let him have that whole division. And I just go up to 160 and finish my career out there because he only got maybe 2 or 3 fights left. You know what I mean? Before he retire anyway. So I would just go up there and just try to get a belt. Maybe one belt. So just so you can add that to your legacy. You know what I mean? And then that's
So
it.
so do you think a fight with Canelo is off the cards for Errol Spence right now? Because I thought for them to sell a possible fight with Canelo, I thought Errol Spence had to look at least halfway decent versus Terrence Crawford, whether he lost or not, and then they could possibly sell a fight with Canelo. But then I think based off what happened to Errol Spence on how bad he got dominated, I think right now at this point, unless Canelo loses to Charlo or he suffers a mishap somewhere down the line, it looked like that Errol Spence versus Canelo would be a disaster for Errol Spence. So do you think that's off the cards now? Because there was talk about this a year and a half ago when you was hearing about this whole stuff about trying to bring Terrence Crawford to the PBC back then and there, and you heard about them trying to beg Canelo to come back and saying that they'll put Errol Spence in one of those packages if he stayed with the PBC. So that's kind of like what made me think Spence versus Crawford was never going to happen. But now, based off what you saw with Errol Spence, is Canelo and Errol Spence a possibility, or is just out of the question?
If if Earl Spence takes that fight, we would truly know it's a money fight. You know what I mean? Because Canelo will knock him out completely out. 'Cause you gotta remember 2 things that Canelo got. He ain't got the skill set that Bud got, but he still got the pretty good skill set, and he's got a chin. Canelo's chin is just unreal, and he's got that power. So if Earl Spence goes up to fight Canelo, we know it's just all about money. It ain't even he ain't probably ain't thinking about winning. You know what I mean? Because it will be a huge payday, but um, at what cost? If he fight that fight, he might as well go ahead and retire. That's what I mean by going up to 160 and try to campaign there and get you a couple fights, couple wins. You might be able to get a belt from one of them lesser fighters at 160, but um, I don't see a path for him because if he stays at 147, he got to fight Boots. If he fight Boots, you already know what's going to happen, right? So if he goes up to 154, you got Charlo. You're gonna have Bud there. You're gonna have some hitters there. You know what I mean? So I think you just go to 160, finish, and take a little time off to get your head together, and fight one of them lesser fighters at 160, and then retire. I mean, you already bought your ranch. You know what I mean? And just go on and get up out of there. Because if you fight anybody else, you gonna fuck your record up, man. You're gonna end up like somebody like Roy Jones. You know what I mean? With all them L's on there. You feel me?
Yeah, yeah, Roy. I really wish Roy would have retired after he beat Luis. I thought it was nothing for Roy to prove, but once again, it's always that fighter's instinct. Sometimes a fighter don't know when to quit or to quit when they're ahead, except for Andre Ward, who got out right on time. So let me ask you this about Terrence Crawford. All right, so Terrence Crawford made history by becoming the first guy in the four belt era to become undisputed in two different weight classes. So I'm gonna ask you the same question that I asked Justin McRae. So right now, as we speak, where do you rank Terrence Crawford? And if Terrence Crawford was to become a three-time undisputed champion, if he goes up and fights the undisputed champion, whether it's Jamel Charlo or if he fights Tim Tszyu, or if Charlo has some kind of mishap along the way, if Terrence Crawford accomplished that, becomes a three weight class undisputed champion, does that make him in the GOAT discussion? Where would you rank
Yeah,
him as an
yeah.
all-time fighter if he does that?
It rates him up there because of what he's done. At every time he didn't got to another weight class. Like for example, um, they're trying to rate Inoue, um,
He's
higher
not
than.
number. He's not number one.
No. But I'm just saying they got him up there. But in order for that to happen, he got to fight maybe five of cool boys in order to get that respect. For me, you got to do what like Terrence Crawford did, or what Earl Spence did, in order to get the respect. And the thing about it is that he's only really fought those two people, and it's like I'm not taking nothing away from his craft. He's a good fighter. He's a very well skilled fighter, and he's a hard puncher. But you got to put in the work. So Terrence Crawford already put in the work. You know what I mean? He already every weight class he went to, and he was undisputed. This is the second time. There ain't nobody doing that type of stuff. I think Clarissa Shields did it. You know what I mean? But sure, Stevenson might do it once he started taking these fights. But man, there ain't nobody in boxing that's on that level. So you have got to put Bud as the GOAT of this era because we always said that we made assumptions about Bud. Oh, he's not big enough. Oh, he's not talented enough. Oh, we can't say he's number one. But you got to remember, for many, many years, they had Terrence Crawford at number one. You know what I mean? Pound for pound. You know what I mean? He would either be number one or number two. You feel me? And it was for a reason because of his skill set. But we didn't want to accept that because we thought that other fighters would beat him up. You know what I mean? Like we literally thought Earl Spence was gonna beat him up, but didn't happen. And that's
I
because of
didn't.
skills. Skills pay the bills, like Floyd Mayweather said. Skills pay the bills.
Hey, let me ask you something. Speaking of that, I mean, as a fantasy matchup, even though Floyd, you just got to keep it 100. Floyd kind of didn't really like to fight a lot of brothers. When he became Floyd Money Mayweather. Now Floyd Mayweather, pretty boy Floyd Mayweather, kind of was pretty much fighting everybody. But then, when he became Floyd Money Mayweather, then I mean, Floyd fought great competition. Can't take away his resume. But how would you see? Keep in mind, Terrence Crawford is 35 years old, and he looked razor sharp last night. Floyd looked at age 35, 36 versus Canelo just on point. How would you see a fantasy fight, like even if they could try to computer generate like a fantasy fight between Floyd Mayweather and Terrence Crawford? Because both of them seem to be in a peak in a late 30s. So how would you see a fantasy fight between Floyd Mayweather and Terrence Crawford?
I think that I think honestly, I think Floyd would have to make some adjustments, and I think Bud would have to make a lot of adjustments too. I just think that the pretty boy Floyd would have been probably too much for Terrence Crawford because he was so balanced and so his skill set was unbelievable. When the pretty boy Floyd. Now the Money Mayweather Floyd is a lot different because he was all about selling the fight, entertaining the crowd, and what I mean, going up against his critics and all this other. But the Money Mayweather Floyd, he would have problems with Terrence Crawford. Terrence Crawford would have gave him all kind of problems because you're on. Floyd was on another level, but Floyd never had to really go to that level with the people he was fighting, like what you were saying, the competition, right? So that's why you always heard Floyd say he'll look at a fighter and say, "Easy work." You always hear him say, "Oh, that's easy work." You know what I mean? Because he knew that he was skills ahead of him. But if he fought Bud, the Money Mayweather Floyd, man, I don't know. That fight right there, matter of fact, I would pay to see that fight. You know what I'm saying?
Me
Because
too.
that would have been a hell of a fight, to be honest with you. I don't know what Floyd would have did with Bud because see, Bud is a very, very intelligent fighter. I mean, people don't believe that. They don't believe that the shit that Bud does in the ring is just it's unrealistic. You know what I mean? I mean, they seen a little bit of it last night against a very, very good fighter. You know what I mean? But they don't understand. But see, Floyd knew. Even Floyd said that Bud wasn't no joke. You know what I mean? So as a fighter, if a person got you or not. You know what I mean? People. Well, we don't know because we're boxing bloggers, right? But a lot of us, like you and me, see, people don't know this about me and you. We actually been in training camps with these guys. We know the stories. We seen it with our own eyes. You know what I mean? A lot of the public haven't seen it. So they make assumptions. They say, oh, well, he's too big. Oh, he's this. He can't do this. He can't do that. Well, all that type of stuff sell fights. You know what I mean? But if you haven't seen it, like we have, and there's a lot of stuff that we can't even post our videos. You know all our videos we got
Oh
of
yeah.
sparring sessions, people getting their ass whooped in sparring, and nobody knows about it. You know what I mean? Nobody knows anything about it. You know what I'm saying? But we got the footage. You know what I mean? And we don't never post it because it's not our place to post it. You know what I mean? But I wish I could.
Yeah. I didn't got in trouble about that, so I know better than to talk about sparring sessions and post videos and stuff. I find that funny because like me and you do more than what we let people know. Like we did the Kareem Mayfield thing. He kind of shocked me when he had me doing like principal photography. I didn't know I was go get where he sat us, but hey, it worked. And then
Yeah,
you
it did.
doing the commentary, that just came out of nowhere. I was just, whoa, I'm doing ringside photography, but it worked out. You know what I'm saying? It's another notch on my belt. So it helps
Right.
my resume. So, but yeah, I'm just saying, I'm just saying, yeah, it is a lot that go into this stuff. It ain't as easy as people think. And I gotta say this because I'm gonna go a bit deeper with this, and I'm glad that you brought this up. The PBC, I know y'all be watching our videos, and this is just real talk. Y'all gonna have to cut this shit out though, what y'all be doing to especially good media and in particularly good black media that's out there like doing their job and stuff. At the end of the day, you can't get an attitude with somebody or have a grudge because somebody critique one of your fighters. And the same thing with you PBC fighters. Y'all can't seriously always be so emotional about somebody just critiquing you and stuff. And at the end of the day, if we poke a little fun at y'all about it, as far as what happens to you in the ring, y'all gonna have to take it. At the end of the day, I want every boxer to be safe. I want them to get paid. I want them to, have a prosperous life. But I'm just saying, I gotta call the PBC out, man. I don't like some of the moves they've been making. I don't like the empty promises they be making. I don't like how you guys were treated, how y'all got pushed to the back burner for media outlets that didn't even care about this fight, that just came out of nowhere and say, hey, we want to cover this fight. And I have to call them out on that. This has been going on for a while, and I'm sick of this stuff. So I have to put that out there. If I gotta be the dude to say it, I mean they don't fuck with me anyway. So I might as well say it. But the PBC, Al Heyman, you got a whole bunch of bad people running your organization that mistreat people from the community that you come from. And you notice this is going on and you need to put a stop to this. You know who you need to get at. You need to stop this stuff because this is not cool. Because your biggest supporters were people that looked like you when you first started this, program. But for you to be letting the people that's out there, basically pushing and grinding, and like you said before, we're not asking you guys pay for our hotels and our flights or however we get there. If we drive from, out of town, we're not asking for nothing except for y'all to give us access, because the more publicity you guys get, the bigger your brand becomes. It, you know what I'm saying? It blows up by people watching. You know what I'm saying? So I have to say that about them. I don't like what they're doing, and this shit needs to stop. Y'all need to get it together, man. Y'all need to get it together. Stop doing that to the brothers that's out there that's doing good work, because a lot of us is doing better work than the people that don't look like us. So I needed to say that, and that's just real talk.
Really, the networks, they should be paying us
I, hey,
because the other people that they got on the payroll, they be watching our shit and
and
using
stealing
us
from
anyway.
us. That
Yeah,
that's another thing that pisses me off. They be stealing from us.
right. So
So
yeah, it's a double-edged sword. You know what I mean? Um, but that's the politics of boxing. You know what I mean? And if PBC, they need to clean their house. They need to clean house. You know, if I was them, I would go through and fire out everybody. You know what I mean? And start fresh and come with a new system. You know what I mean? Because the people that they got running it's the same like type of people that was running Rock Nation. You know, Rock Nation was a good system, but it was ran by people that had egos and power trips. You know what I mean? And that messes the whole organization up. To be honest with you, it only takes one bad apple to make all of them bad.
man, so there you have it. Hey, we gonna wrap this up. And Rich, I appreciate you coming on here, man.
Oh,
And
for sure, man.
I'll see you when you get back home. When you coming back home?
I'll be Monday.
All right. So Rich,
Yeah.
once again, tell everybody how to tap in with you and how to
Uh,
get in contact with you if they want to do interviews and all that stuff and want you to cover events. Because we do all that stuff.
yeah. Well, y'all can reach me at Real Boxing Facts. But IG is Real Boxing Fact _ facts. And YouTube is Real Boxing Facts. And same thing on TikTok. So y'all can reach out to me anytime. You know what I'm saying? I'm available. We do this boxing stuff. So, this is basically, our opinions. You know what I mean? I try to always speak facts, you know what I mean? But I got to keep it real with y'all. A lot of stuff that me and Town, we can't talk about, you know what I mean? Because of the relationships we have with a lot of um, boxers and trainers and boxing organizations. So a lot of times we can't really say what we really want to say. But I'm gonna try my best to give you the facts. You know what I'm saying, as I see them, and give you my opinions. You know what I mean? Um, and sometimes my opinions may hurt other people, but you can follow me at Real Boxing Facts.
All right. So there you have it. All right, Rich. I'll see you when you get home, man.
Okay. All
All
right.
right.
All right.